This is JaMarr Brown, host of the Break It Down Brown Show, and also founder of the Selling in Color sales system. I'm here at the KCWG The Truth Radio, internet radio station, the best internet radio on the planet. Here with a good friend of mine who we actually recently met maybe, I don't know, a couple months, 2-3 months ago. Brittney Carter, and we're going to have a really awesome discussion today. One of the things that you all know I love to do is to coach and mentor people. It's one of my passions. And, because of the things I've been through in my life and my career, I really like being a bridge for other people to share what were some of the struggles, the challenges, the successes, the failures. Because if I can help someone else sort of uncover, unlock, and unleash their potential and realize, their true gifts and talents and unleash themselves into the world, that is really what I love to do, whether it's with my own daughter or with people that I meet. And Brittney is one of those individuals. So, Brittney, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Brittney, welcome to the hello. Handshake.
Oh.
I'm sorry. Or leave me hanging. No, I'm just joking.
I'm so sorry.
So for those of people, and here's the deal. I am really proud of Brittney because this is her very first radio interview, her very first Facebook Live, and so I'm really proud that you're taking the leap to put yourself out there. I really appreciate it. Yeah,
I'm excited to do it. It's all about doing things that bring you out of your comfort zone, and this is one of those things. It's new, so I'm excited to be a part.
Excellent. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about really a couple of things, entrepreneurship as well as sales. And so a lot of people out there may be thinking, how do I make the transition from a corporate job to becoming an entrepreneur? What are some of the steps, the challenges, the highs, the lows, and things of that nature? And so we're going to talk about that. And also another topic of mine that I'm passionate about is sales and how do you become a better salesperson. I'm going to talk a lot about my Selling in Color sales system that I wrote last year. And so we're going to just have a discussion about that. I'm going to give you guys some insight into what an actual coaching session is like with me and how it's not nerve-wracking. It's not, there's not a lot of angst. We're just having a discussion, and my whole goal was to, help you uncover what is in the way or what blocks are preventing you from doing certain things, or to do like what Brittney's doing, and that is just basically jump into the water because she didn't have a choice because we're doing Facebook Live. So here we are.
It's funny because, I remember you told me to do a Facebook Live, and that was one of my things I was like, I don't know, and so it's great to just be in the process of doing one of the action items that I was supposed to do.
Yes. So Brittney, let's talk about your background. I know you went to Cal Baptist University, and you studied communications, and then really had a 10-year career, really in sales and marketing, the travel and tourism business, the coffee business. Yeah. But I know along the way you started to have this voice. I call it the voice of distinction. Yeah. Which was calling you to do certain things, which created, a website that you put together, a blog site, which I'll let you talk about, as well as the idea for writing books and coaching. So just talk about your background, and then just sort of touch on that inner voice that was calling you to do something more than what you were doing at the time.
Okay, yeah. So, I went to school, Cal Baptist University in Riverside, so I'm a local. Okay. And studying communications made sense because I'm a communicator. Like, I love to talk. So I thought that this would be a great major for myself. Graduated, went on to start my career in travel and tourism, which was probably the most amazing experience. I couldn't ask for anything better. Got to travel and hang out with C-level executives and just really learn how marketing works and how like sales and relationship building operates. And that was great. And then from there, after having a great career in that industry, I went on to do corporate recruitment, which was a totally different industry for me. And a little bit of a culture shock going into corporate America. Okay. And corporate America was, and I was just having a conversation today with someone about this, but corporate America is definitely a different type of environment, and it was definitely a high production sales position. Right. So it was like we were just joking about like just dial and smile type of environment. So sell, matrix data, like it was a lot of that. It was a great experience, and it taught me a lot of discipline. I transitioned out of that role into doing working into a coffee industry. Okay. which was completely opposite from the
right.
corporate.
You took travel to
like it was like all
coffee.
This freedom, and everyone's laid back. They wore t-shirts and jeans.
Right.
It was very laid back, the coffee industry. So that was fun. And now, through that whole time, now I'm with a new company, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. But through that whole journey, I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur at heart. Like I always thought about it, like, okay, what type of business I want to get into. Like I was trying to really figure that out.
But let's do this, because what I want to do, I want to break it down, because your story is very similar to a lot of people. They get out of college or they start their career and they have different jobs, and they have different experiences, and they go from one thing that is one path to a completely different path. And so I want you to talk about those transitions, but also where the original idea of being an entrepreneur came from, because it's always born somewhere. Sometimes it's born out of frustration. Like I'm just mad at my boss, mad at my job. This sucks, and I want to get out of here. Yeah. Sometimes it's born out of I want to make a ton of money, and I think if I have this idea, I can make a ton of money. Sometimes it's born out of just I believe that there's something inside of me that needs to be expressed in the world, and I can't keep this voice down. So talk about the transition, and then where the seed of entrepreneurism came in for you.
Okay. It definitely was wanting to express a voice that was inside of me. That's where the blog was birthed. And freedom. I'm big on being able to manage my time on my own and have the freedom to do the things that I would love to do every day. Okay. So that was a big thing for me. So through those transitions and working those different positions, they had their pros and cons. Every single position does. So I was always like, okay, tweaking and figuring out what is it that I need to adjust in my work life to match up to what I'm aiming for. Okay. But being an entrepreneur is definitely a big aim for me, because that you're completely in control of your destiny, of your revenue. Like everything that comes, you're in control of that. And I like that aspect of things. So that's kind of where I had first started to feel those feelings of like, I want to be an entrepreneur.
Okay. And you're right to a certain extent in terms of the being able to control your destiny a little bit better, because, you're making the decisions. One of my mentors told me a long time ago that, she said, JaMarr, in your career, you always want to be the one making the decisions than the one at the result of decisions. Yeah. So that kind of stuck with me for a long time. So let's start there, because, and I wanted you to discuss your background, because there's so many people that are watching. They have a similar type of experience. They started working, and they had different jobs, different careers, and there was this thing inside of them that kept calling them. I had the exact same experience for me, but I will tell you that for a lot of people, it's scary. Yeah. Because even though in this day and age working for a company is not totally safe and comfortable, for the most part, at least while you're there, unless you get fired or laid off, you do have a steady income, a steady paycheck, and benefits. And when you look at making a transition to your own business, and you go, wow, I got to find healthcare, I have to find clients, I have to, and one of the most important things which is the most difficult, is to put yourself out there and let people know who you want to become. Yeah. That is very, very scary. And for a lot of people, it's like the dog that runs out of the doghouse, and then the dog gets spooked and then run right back in the doghouse because it's safe. Well, being an entrepreneur means you stay out of the doghouse. Yeah. And you're on your own. So
in the rain.
So talk about some of the, had the idea, which is exciting, but talk about some of the fear and the angst you felt knowing that you had that inner calling.
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring that up, because I heard this term, one-apreneur, right? Okay. Or you want to be an entrepreneur, okay? Right? So technically, for a long time, I'm a one-apreneur. I'm like, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to. And when I had got into a position where I actually was in a position to full-time be an entrepreneur, I didn't have that solid income. I didn't have the benefits. I didn't have all those things. And I was trying to build a business from the ground up, and it was terrifying. Okay. I'm very optimistic as a person, but even being optimistic, knowing like, where is that next paycheck coming from, or money coming from, it's very scary. And it was a big reality check for me to realize, like, yeah, you want to be an entrepreneur, but planning and having a solid foundation in place,
Right.
at least a savings or something that's going to hold you over. And even with the savings, I think my journey recently is like, okay, building a business is an investment,
Right.
not only of money, but time. So you got to invest both, and you got to be able to do both. Like, so I had a lot of time.
Right.
The resources were limited
Okay.
financially. And, you also got to take care of your room and board and
Absolutely.
food
You
and
gotta live.
gas.
Right,
and
right.
the little things that you don't think about, like, the jobs tend to provide for.
Right, right.
But, so then it was like, okay, how do I create a lifestyle that will not only, and that's where this new opportunity came about, where it's like, they're all about promoting the individual to live their best life. And,
Excellent.
That
Okay.
aligns with my mission.
Right.
And I can talk about my business. I could talk about my blog. I could talk about things that I want to do in the future because they're all for that.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to hide that you have a passion outside
Right.
of your career.
Let's talk about that because, and I would love for you to talk about how you got this new position, which allows you to be yourself. But
Yeah.
one of the, things that, and we'll start, some of the coaching right now with that transition is, there's two things that hit you right away that can literally derail someone who's making that transition instantly. One is you start to question your own value.
Oh, yeah.
And the second one is called tribal shaming. So, let's. And I know you've experienced both of those, and everybody who's made that transition has experienced those
More
things.
than
So
I
let me,
like to.
right. So let me explain what those two things are. You can give your personal experience, and
Okay.
I'll talk about how do you deal with those things. So, from a personal value standpoint, let's say, like for me, I was in the pharmaceutical business, and I was, I did well. I won salesperson of the year, sales manager of the year. I get it, right? I was selling somebody else's product, somebody else's service. No, it was a phenomenal product. I believed in it. I was into it. And when somebody said no, it's like this is a product, and I didn't create this product. So when somebody would say no, it was like, okay, yeah, it still stung because nobody wants to be rejected.
Yeah.
But it's not my baby. It's like, when somebody calls somebody else's baby ugly, like, that's not the nice thing to say, but it's not my baby.
Right.
Right.
It's
But
like,
when they
well,
call your baby ugly, it's tough. And so
It's
part of
heartbreaking.
the value is we associate our value to the thing that we're creating our business, whether it's
Yeah.
your blog or our book that you write. And so when somebody questions it, you can tend to take it personally.
Yeah.
It affects you deeply. So
Yeah.
let's start there for a second, and then we'll talk about tribal shaming, which is a major issue affecting everybody. So tell us about your experience in terms of the feeling or lack thereof of your value when it was your baby.
Well, I think when you're working with a company, they built up their credibility.
Okay.
And they sell the product to you for you to believe enough in it to sell it to others. And so with that being in place, a system of credibility, you're automatically ready to go and hit the ground running when you start with a company. But when it's your business, and especially being like young and not really like having accomplishments, but not feeling like that's enough,
Okay.
and the credibility aspect, I think it's crazy because an outsider looking in will be like, hey, well, you've done this and you've done this and you have that. And you're like, yeah, but I still need to do more. Like,
Right.
I need to take a class, or I need to like go and experience more or something, or I need to go speak at a TED Talk
Right.
before I can say, or write a book before
Right.
I can say that I'm an expert. And I think like, because we're so hard on ourselves, in a sense, or I am at times, I don't see myself in that light all the time. And so that's one of the challenges I had when I was put in a position it was sink or swim, either talk about your business, talk about your book, talk about what you're doing, or sink.
Right.
And I froze.
Okay.
I froze in that moment because I was afraid that I wasn't going to be credible enough,
I see.
even if I seemed credible to everybody else.
Right, but you personally you question your own internal
Value.
credibility,
Yeah.
your own value. And that's something that I think, because a lot of entrepreneurs and people that are considering things, they look at the business model and
Yeah.
the branding and all those things first, and the structure. And what I tell people is the number one thing you have to focus on is you. Because at the end of the day, you can have the best marketing materials in the world, But if you are not out there pushing it and selling it, it goes nowhere.
Yeah.
So it always comes down to you. And I will give you my own personal experience with that because it affects everybody. Everyone knows that I've written 3 books, but the very first book that I wrote, it took me 7 years to write that book. I was working at a company, and the reason why it took 7 years is because the first 6 years I questioned my value to write the book.
Yeah. Wow.
I was frozen. I was stuck. I was afraid. I was thinking, well, what if nobody buys it? What if nobody likes it? What if it doesn't sell?
Yeah.
And it was all these what if, and I was just paralyzed for 6 years. And the seventh, at the start of the 7th year, I'll talk about what changed, but it came down to my purpose changed. And when my purpose changed and my why changed, and I was motivated and inspired to write the book. And the purpose was, my daughter, who I wanted to leave a legacy for. And I realized that I've spent, the past 6 years of my life thinking about something that I was called to do out of fear, but what was I really afraid of? But when my fear moved away from, what people might say to the legacy I want to leave behind for my daughter and helping other people, I was inspired, and a year later I had the book on the market and it was out there.
Yeah.
But here's how deep I want to let people know this fear thing is. Here I was, and I like to use my own example because when I coach, I think if you've been through something, then you can coach it and you've experienced it. And so I was someone who went from nearly being fired to salesperson of the year at Allergan Pharmaceuticals, one of the most respected pharmaceutical companies in the world.
Wow.
So I had a story. I had an entire process of how I went from last place to number 1 in the country. And there I was still afraid to write a book on sales.
Yeah.
If you go to any bookstore, you'll see hundreds of books on sales from people who, don't have that experience, don't have that story. So what I want you to understand, Brittney, is it happens to everybody and it's natural. So we're going to talk about how do we conquer that fear. So for people watching, we'll put a pin there. Now let's talk about something else because we're going to come back to how do you conquer that fear. I'm going to give you some steps to do that. The second thing, which is really huge, is I call it tribal shaming. And I would like you to explain, because we've talked about this offline, I would like for you to explain what tribal shaming means to you, what happened in your situation.
Okay. So disclaimer, I have a great network of people around me. I have a lot of amazing people that's inspired me. But, and I think everyone experiences, but what I've learned as social tribal shaming is a sense of like people and it doesn't even have to be someone like verbally telling you like something negative, but it's people that don't always like show the support that you expected. Okay. So like you might have your book go on sale and you're like, oh, my whole network is going to buy my book. And like, not everyone buys the book.
Right.
And you're like, why didn't they buy the book?
Exactly.
Like, that's the one person I thought would get a copy.
Right.
Right. And so that's kind of, an example. And what I've experienced is like, I guess sharing my business ideas or like telling someone about my blog or telling someone about something that I'm doing and there's like zero interest. And they're like people that I want, to be engaged with what I'm doing.
You thought they would be engaged, you expected them to be engaged. And
want them to be proud or interested in learning more. And they're just like, oh, that's nice. That's cool. Yeah.
Right.
What are you doing again? Like they don't even like try to understand or engage. So that's been one of my challenges. And I guess recently starting to overcome it, but it's been a challenge that's been going on with me. And that's part of like feeling incredible because your tribe makes you feel like, well, who are you to go and do this?
Absolutely. And I wanted you to, and just 2 things. I wanted you to explain that from your own experience, but I wanted people to also sense your emotion because it does bring out emotions. I mean, it brings out emotions, more emotions of questioning yourself, doubting yourself when you expect certain things from your network. And one of the things you said was really important. That is that not everybody that doesn't get behind you or doesn't buy your product is against you.
Yeah.
They may have their own reasons for why they didn't buy your book or why they didn't, get your program, and that's okay. But the reality is that tribal shaming is this. Here's really the clear definition of what it is, and that is when you are part of a group, like when you were in the travel industry, you had a certain group of people that you were surrounded by.
Yeah.
When you were in the recruiting business, you had a certain group of people you were surrounded by.
Yeah.
When you're in the coffee business, you had a certain group of people you were surrounded by. And a tribe really exists because people have the same values, beliefs, ideas, and it's sort of like, like bees or ants or any other animal, that they fall in line.
Yeah.
And the whole idea is they exist because they speak the same language, they do the same things, and they have the same values. And tribal shaming happens when somebody goes, wait a second here, I think I want to do something else. I think I'd like to go outside of what everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
And the whole purpose of a tribe is to keep people in the same group. And so the initial reaction from a lot of people is, okay, now you're going outside of what we do.
Yeah.
And they reject your independent thinking, your independent thought, or they question it.
Yeah.
And there's different levels of people. Some people really are envious and jealous and they are upset.
Yeah.
Other people, it's just like, wow, well, Brittney, that's not what Brittney's supposed to do. Your parents may say, Brittney, you were, I think you should go to this school. I think you should do that. And they love you to death and they want the best for you. And so their comments are not negative. They're not meant to hurt you. It's spoken from their own tribal perspective.
Yeah.
And so what happens to anybody when you say, I'm going to, like in my situation, I want to write a book. I hesitated to release the book because I felt that people were going to question me and reject me or think I was moonlighting. And so I was afraid of tribal shaming. And when it happened, people were like, well, how many copies did you sell?
Yeah.
Is it a bestseller?
Right.
And so you go through all these things.
Yeah.
And so that's really what tribal shaming is. So now let's talk about a couple of ways to deal with those two things. One thing is when you doubt your own value. Another one is tribal shaming. But before we do that, are there any other perspectives of either one that you feel were important for someone that is in your shoes or wearing your shoes to understand before I kind of give a couple ways to deal with both of those things?
Yeah, I think another way of looking at it, I think about the allegory of the cave.
Okay.
Have you heard of that?
Remind me.
It's like, I want to say it's Aristotle, but it might be Homer. I don't know. It's a philosopher.
One of the greats.
We'll have to look it up. Okay. But they're going out of the cave, and the person leaves the cave and sees all these colors and like the whole world, and starts to look at things different. And there's people inside the cave that's never seen light, never seen colors, and so, like, just a long story short, when he came back to tell them about everything that he saw, they were just kind of like, "What? No," and they didn't believe him, and they didn't like that. So I think, like, when you're changing and evolving as a person and you're coming back and you're telling everyone, hey, this is what I've seen. This is what I've experienced. This is what I'm doing. They're like you said, Brittney, you're still the same Brittney.
Right.
You need to stay and be the same person that I'm used to, because this change is making me uncomfortable. And I think also that the reason why we reflect negatively on people's tribal shaming is because we have our own insecurities that get reflected out. And I think for me, I had my own insecurities about what I can do. And then when I felt like someone wasn't accepting my goals and my wanting to be an entrepreneur, that even though they weren't intentionally trying to be negative, it reflected back on me, and I saw myself in my own struggles, and I was like, then I made it more negative than it needed to be, because I was like, they just don't believe in me. But they may believe in me, or they may just not understand what I'm doing, and I'm just making it worse because I have my own insecurities. So that's something to think about that I've struggled with that.
Absolutely. So let's there's four things that I'd like to talk to you about from a coaching perspective. We could break down each one. And these are ways to, I call these like the 5 mindsets of being a successful entrepreneur, or 5 mindsets of making that transition. And they're both, these are designed to do a number of things, but most importantly, understand how do you believe in your own value, have credibility, and go out and unleash yourself unapologetically to the world. Yeah. And the second thing is, how do you deal with tribal shaming when it really is tribal shaming, where somebody really is trying to keep you in a place that you no longer are, that trying to hold you down from who you're supposed to become. So the first thing is to believe in your own value. And what does that mean? That means that, I said it earlier, that when we are working for a company and selling somebody else's product, we are detached from we are oftentimes attached to that product or service. I had a friend one time who, he got laid off from his job, and he came to my house and he was literally in tears. And he thought his whole life was over because he had attached his whole value to that title and to that job. When that job ended, he felt that he was done with it. Sometimes we feel that way about certain things. We get so attached to everything that we are at the ebb and flow. If somebody buys 10 books, I'm happy. If they don't buy any books, I'm sad. Yeah. If somebody gets a client, if you get a client, you're happy. If you don't get a client, you're upset. And so we are so attached to the outcome of our business that we attach our own personal value to that thing that we are selling or producing. So the key thing is to do this, which may sound ironic.
Yeah.
Detach yourself from your product or service. Brittney is not the blog site that you created.
Yeah.
Brittney is not the book that you will write.
Yeah.
The book did not create you. You created it, which means that you are separate from it, which means that you have the ability to create whatever you want to create. And if somebody doesn't like it, that's okay. It doesn't take away the value from it.
Yeah.
And also you have the ability to create other things. And so sometimes we get so attached to everything that we allow our emotions to be at the ebb and flow of life.
Yeah.
Where I'm saying, detach yourself from it.
It's our baby. Like,
Right.
I struggle with this. I'll be
Right.
real. Like, whatever I create, I'm like, this is my baby. So I'm interwoven into that creation. And as a creative person, like, that happens. So that's a tough one.
Right.
But I need to work on that.
You know, and it is a tough one. It's so deep that it even goes to parenting, right? In my situation, because of course I want my daughter to be certain things and do certain things, and you have this vision for their whole life, and then like just recently, you know, she announced that, you know, she's not going to play lacrosse this summer, which was the thing that we were all sort of looking at to have her get a scholarship to go to college, and now she's not going to do the one thing she needs to do to get it.
Wow.
So that could totally derail you as a parent, and you're like, well, wait a second, what did I go wrong, and all these things, right? But then here's what I'm trying to explain. But when you're detached from it, it doesn't mean you don't see the value in it. Doesn't mean you walk away from it. Doesn't mean that you look at it differently.
Yeah.
You go, you know what? Maybe that thing is going to be birthed to do something else.
Yeah.
So now the time that she has when she's not, you know, going to be on the lacrosse field can be spent doing something else that she's passionate about, that she enjoys. And the same thing goes for our products and services. If we are so, you know, wrapped up in holding everything so tight, it can't breathe, it can't live.
Yeah, we
getting
let it go.
people's perspectives on it is important, whether it's good or bad, because it might show you something you go, wow, I didn't think about that.
Very true.
It might open up new doors. So the very first thing is to believe in your own value. Don't detach yourself from the product or service you created. And then also remember that the product did not create you.
Okay.
The product doesn't own you. You created the product, you created it. Okay?
Okay. I want to touch on this topic just with an additional question or some whatever statement.
Sure.
I don't know. Being that when you talked about your friend who lost his position and felt like he lost a piece of his identity in that process, and having been through that myself, and on top of losing the position, right? And even if you are entrepreneuristic, your family, your friends kind of looking at you like, what now?
Right.
And that pressure on top of feeling in your mind like you've lost everything. You're losing everything. Right. And it's crazy because you could literally have been an executive just yesterday.
Right.
And the next day, the position ends and you're not.
Yes.
So who are you?
Right.
And that was something that was challenging when I went through it. It was wait. How do I identify myself now? I was this position and now the position's ended or it's no longer there, and
because and you're absolutely right. And so many people in the last number of years have gotten laid off, have gotten fired, have been through job transitions, and so have I. And I think early on it affected me that way. I'm like, wait a second, I was this title here. Now, whether it was either I made the decision myself, or something changed at the company and they made the decision for me, right?
Exactly.
The net result is the same.
You feel the same way.
Yes. And so once again, it goes back to a couple of things. And one of the things that I've learned is you have to detach yourself from the things, right? It's sort of like if you attach your value to the car you drive, what if that car breaks down? Are you going to break down? If you attach yourself to a company, and your self-worth is based on how the company treats you or the people in the company treat you, and then they treat you bad or you get laid off or fired, does that mean that you're still not Brittney? Does that mean you're still not the same person? And so what I'm saying, to remember, you're the person that earned that position.
Yeah.
You're the person that was able to get that job in the first place. And so if that's the case, you could pick yourself up, remember who you are, remember what you're all about. You may have to learn some new skills.
Yeah.
You may have to adjust and adapt.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty of it because you own it.
Right.
You still are in control to make the decisions you want to make.
Yeah.
And so the key thing is, once again, is to detach yourself from, the company or the product or the service. It's a process, and it takes time.
Yeah.
But when you know that how you feel about yourself has no connection to how other people treat you or how you're treated at a company or how your title or your status, it's a powerful position to be in. And part of it is taking some chances, like you doing Facebook Live. Hello, everybody on Facebook Live. Because once you get into a rhythm of doing the things you feel you're being called to do, there's such a power in that is you can't look back. And things like that don't bother you anymore because you're like, wow, I've tried 10 things that worked or didn't work, and I'm still going.
Yeah.
And whether they worked or not, it's irrelevant.
I'm still breathing.
Right? You're still breathing,
still
right?
Here. I made
it. Another thing is sometimes, and I don't know who said this quote, but I saw it and I love it. And it's all about how long it takes people to take action against the things that they're passionate about. I know you've had an idea for a book for a while. You've made some strides. But there's still a ways to go to complete it. And I know there's other things you like to do. And so sometimes you go, wait a second, I need to have the book totally outlined. I need to have the cover design. I need to have, the editor. I need to have all these things, right? Am I right? And so the quote that I heard is 90% of planning is procrastination. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, I hope it doesn't take you 6 years like to write your first book like it took me. Because I will tell you the angst and the stress I felt over that 6-year period was just unrelenting.
Yeah.
But a lot of it was, I said I was planning, but it was really just procrastination. It was really fear. It was really self-doubt. It was really all these things. And so the thing is, the concept is done is better than perfect.
I know.
Yes.
I agree 100%. I just, I saw this post on Instagram that I thought was super funny. The guy said, hey, my friend's writing a book on financial peace and like a financial advising book. And he's trying to raise money to publish the book. And I thought to myself, yeah, that's interesting. Like he's an expert on finances, but he doesn't have the money to publish the book. And funny. So like things like that, like knowing the balance between like when you're ready and when it's time. But that's that's a challenge I have sometimes where it's like you like, am I ready? Like, am I credible?
Right.
And like that's the biggest challenge I have. But I agree 100%. And like the fear of like publishing your baby prematurely or like not having the right editor, but I'm like completely the overthinker, procrastinator, find something that I need to do still in order to not have to publish it. And I also heard like this guy just was telling me like you should just publish it because people will get the content at least, even if they just read the first 10 pages, and like you said, once you start doing action.
Well, and it's funny because I have so many stories about this. Like I remember I got a call from a lady who wanted me to coach her, and she had an idea to write a book, and she was asking me all about how do I publish it? How do I market it? How do I position it in the world and all these things, right?
All the details.
And she goes and she's laid out all these things, and it was all about marketing and publishing and all these things. Yeah. And then she said, JaMarr, what should I do first? And I said, write the book. I mean,
but we want our books to be bestsellers, like the first one, right?
Right.
Well, that doesn't necessarily have to be the case, but you're like, I want my book to be the top seller.
Well, listen, I will keep it completely real with you. My goal in writing my first book, I wanted to sell millions of copies and retire and write books.
Yeah.
That was my original intent.
Yeah.
Now, did it? Now, I'm sitting here with you right now in the studio, so that means that, it didn't sell millions of copies.
Yeah,
it did well, But what I learned is and I have mentors that help me. So this is not like I'm the guru of all this knowledge. I mean, I'm sharing things with you that people shared with me that that have changed my life, and I believe in helping other people. And so, people don't think that I think I'm God's gift to consulting, because I'm not. I am a good listener, and I apply what I learn. I do that. And so one of the things that I learned was when I was upset about the book not selling, millions of copies, one of my mentors said, well, JaMarr, it's what has it done for you? And what it did was number one, it made me feel so much better about myself. That was the most important thing, the sense of accomplishment, knowing that I had, with all the fear and self-doubt and procrastination, I finally said, here you go, world. And did people buy it that I thought were going to buy it? Some did, some didn't. Some people that, you know who you are out there. I'm not going to name any names. But people that I was like, people, I've hired you. I've promoted you over the years. And I was like, you know who you are. I'm like, and here's a book that is my manifesto on how to go from last to first place. And I taught you these things, and you didn't buy the book. It was painful. And I was upset. I'm laughing now, but at the time, this is years ago, I was upset. My mentor said, JaMarr, it's okay. He talked to me about tribal shaming. That's where I learned tribal shaming. I'm like, wow. He goes, well, and you'll find a new tribe. You'll find people who support you, who will come out the woodworks once you are letting people know who you are and what you're trying to do. And that's exactly what happened. And he also said that the book is like a calling card, our business card. He said it'll open up so many doors for you. And it opened up a number of doors for me. It opened up job opportunities, speaking engagements, credibility. Yeah. And he also said that, you know what? And things are going to evolve, right? Nothing that is created and put out there stays as it is. Yeah. Things change, things evolve. And if you don't let them breathe, you don't let them live, you don't let your children grow up, then they're going to stay stuck in the pain of your mental anguish of thinking you should be doing something that you're not doing. And so part of this message is just do it. Not to steal Nike's quote, don't sue me on that, Nike, but the whole idea is copyright infringement. But no, and it is just do it. Just put it out there. Yeah, it's not. It's never gonna. Nothing is perfect. Nothing is perfect, and so take the initiative and just do it, and just trust that you'll feel so much better about yourself. Because here's one other thing I'll say before you move on. And when I do my live talks and I have time, I tell people this. I say, think about, is there something on your mind that you've been thinking about for a long period of time, a goal or an idea? And they said, okay, think about that, right? Just think. Put that image in your mind, right? And think about how long you've been thinking about doing it, right? So let's say how long? Months, years for you?
I mean, I've had baby steps, but the grand scheme of things, years.
Okay, years, right? Okay, let's keep it real.
I've taken baby steps.
So years. And how do you feel knowing that there's something inside of you, an idea, a concept, or something that is burning to get out that you are not taking action towards? How do you feel about yourself? How does it feel?
It's definitely a weight. It's a weight. Every single day you wake up, and it's weird how you could procrastinate on something that will give you life, that will make you excited, that would, be such a blessing to you. But it's a weight on your shoulders every single day because you're thinking about it, like back of your head. Man, I need to write that article, or I need to work on that book and get it published, or I need to send that email. Right. There was this. Okay, so I wanted to start a life coaching business. Okay. And I even got business cards. I remember I showed you.
Yeah, I remember. Yep, they were really nice business cards.
And I'm a great communicator, so I was like, I want to be a communications coach. Right. And maybe career counseling, because I've done that too. And I had to send out an email. I did a training, and she said, send out this email. She literally helped me craft the email and everything, right? Okay. And once I got to the point of having to send that email, I froze. Wow. I froze. And the email was crafted beautifully. It was all done. It was beautiful. All I had to do was press send. And I couldn't do it.
And how did you feel in that moment? It was
heavy. It felt like something was weighing on my shoulder, and I wish that I would have just took the leap and did it, because I'd rather get backlash for it than to ever not do something that I know I should do and I feel like I need to do.
And there's one thing that you're saying, which we're going to address as well, which is kind of our self-talk. Because, your self-talk a little bit has been what could go wrong when you do something. the backlash,
Yeah.
the tribal shaming. And what I'm going to, help you
wanna
with,
get
what I'm going to help you with is the mindset of what can go right.
What could go right?
Not what can
Shifting.
go wrong, what can go right. But we'll
Changing
go
the
back to
lens.
that. Yeah, changing the lens. But let's go back to, and the reason why I want to take people to the feeling of what it's like to think of something and to not take action, because we all felt that way, right? I felt that way. 6 years, I felt the pain of like this my signature move to let people know who JaMarr really was, which was the first book, I was trying to push it down, and it just sucked for 6 years. But here's the thing. We also have an experience in our life, not necessarily being an entrepreneur, where we wanted to do something and we took action towards it. We might have been fearful, but we took action.
Yeah.
And the question is, how did you feel when you took action? Whether it worked out or not, that's okay. But when you took action towards something, how did you feel?
Oh, great.
Right. You felt great.
I felt like elated. Like
elated.
Excited. And
Yes.
you get into a flow. Like
Exactly.
you were talking about action, taking action steps, and I've been in that place
Right.
where I didn't have time to second guess myself.
Mm-hmm.
And at my last company, they called it analysis paralysis.
Okay,
Right?
okay.
Where you're overthinking a little mini
Yes,
step, like
yes.
making that phone call or sending that email or like, producing your book. And so that's where like when I've overcome those things and got into my workflow to where it was like I was flowing so much, I was just taking action. It was just such a great experience.
So here's the question. Oh, go ahead. Finish your thought.
But
Yeah.
the challenge is getting there, right?
Right.
For me, like the challenge was actually getting to that place of action.
And I'm gonna this one quote, this one statement may help you get over the hump. It may help everyone out there as well that's thinking about this. And that is, if you know how you feel when you have an idea that you're not taking action towards, it's heavy, it's a burden, you're angst. Like if you're like me, I got back pain and neck pain and just
it
all this
affects
stuff.
you
It
physically.
it affects how you interact with other people. It affects
Yeah.
how you interact at work.
Your confidence.
Your confidence and everything. If you know how you feel when you don't take action, and you know how you feel when you take action, whether it works or not, you feel free. You feel like this burden has been lifted. You're happy. You're joyful. You're appreciative. Then
Yeah.
why would you ever? Then it's a choice you're making. It's a choice you're making to feel bad about yourself. And why would you ever make the choice to feel bad about yourself? The only difference is action versus inaction. Inaction, pain. Action, you feel better about yourself.
The pain has to be the pain has to be big enough in comparison to the joy that you'll get.
Maybe. Well, see, maybe.
I'm
maybe,
trying to,
maybe. Well, see, here's
understand into my
yes, right. Because
My-
because everyone has a root cause language or root language that they talk to themselves in. For most people, it's a negative undertone.
Yeah.
It's what could go
A
wrong.
doubtful
It's a doubtful undertone.
Betty or was it
right?
doubtful
Right.
something?
Doubtful Debbie, whatever.
Doubtful Debbie. Don't
Debbie,
trying to rhyme.
Debbie Downer from Saturday
Debbie
Night Live.
Downer.
She is hilarious, by the way. I don't subscribe to her way of thinking, but she's funny. But when what you just said was you mentioned pain, right?
Yeah.
And what I'm gonna, give you the perspective on is, don't look at it as, well, it's the pain of doing it or not doing it. Look at it as, what is your purpose, right? Mm-hmm. What is your reason for doing it? And so that's, one of the things on here, which is a fourth thing. We'll go back to the third thing last, which is stay connected to your purpose, because sometimes we don't know what our purpose is, right? You want to be a life coach, and
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a deep underlying reason why you want to be a life coach.
Yeah.
And even if it's because the pain of what somebody went through or what you went through, you want to help other people with, that could be one aspect of it.
Yeah.
The other aspect could be, I really want to help people.
Yeah.
Either way, if you launch what you're looking to launch and you help someone
Yeah.
get through pain, they're going to end with pleasure. They're going to end up with happiness and joy. And so the why is really helping people to discover their joy again.
Yeah.
And when you connect to that emotion versus the emotion of not doing it or failure and all these negative emotions,
Yeah.
you're more inspired and you attach a better emotion to it. Like when like this show here, I mean, there's, I'm not a radio personality. I didn't go to school for this. I just, had an idea one day, and luckily the radio station allowed me to do it. I was scared to death my first show, but I also realized that, I am putting myself out there because I really want to help people. That's my passion. And so it's almost selfish to not do it,
Wow.
because you're preventing, whether it's God or whatever your higher source is, from speaking through you to help somebody else.
Yeah.
And you're going to help somebody else get over some of the things that you went through. And so they're going to get to a place of happiness and joy.
Yeah.
So why would you prevent yourself from feeling that? Why would you prevent them from feeling that? But you have to look at your purpose. And, you don't have to share it with everybody, on what your purpose is.
Why.
But when your why is big enough, you will conquer and accomplish anything. And I'll just share one last thing, and then we can move on. I'll get your thoughts.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm at a point where I am really afraid of something, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I don't know if I should do this or not. The why I look at, two things. Number one, I look at, okay, what is God telling me to do?
Okay.
And that's a big why.
Yeah.
The other why is one that's here, in my presence, which is my daughter. And I go, wow, if I want her to unleash her potential into the world, then how could I not unleash mine? I don't just want to tell her something and then do something else. I want to be able to say, hey, look, sweetheart, your dad tried it.
Yeah.
It may not, some things didn't work. Some things were like miserable,
Yeah.
But that's still 10 times better than thinking about it. And so
Right.
what I want you to really think about is, instead of looking at what might go wrong and those emotions of fear and doubt, look at the emotions of your why and your purpose. When you are a successful life coach and you're helping tens of millions of people, and you're the next Oprah or whoever it is, right? How are you going to feel in that situation? Put yourself there. That's why you're doing it.
Yeah.
And if that why is big enough, then the fear, the self-doubt, the tribal shaming
It goes
won't
away.
prevent you from moving forward.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts about that?
Man, that's a lot of stuff to reflect on.
Right?
And it's definitely a shift of thinking. I'm thinking right now about the joy that I felt when I do get opportunity to help people with any kind of problem.
There you go.
Because I feel like I spend so much time in self-discovery, self-development mode for myself and reading a lot of books on it. And being like that person who's always searching for God and searching for meaning. When I have friends and family or peers that have issues, I love counseling. I love enjoying the process of helping someone work through a problem. And if I had that opportunity, and if I really put myself in that position, I would definitely find a lot of joy in seeing someone else find happiness, because I think it's attainable. And there's a lot of people who aren't happy, and a lot of people that struggle with depression or anxiety and different things that have haunted me at points,
Absolutely.
So it's just I'm reflecting on that. Like I'm really just like, dang, like if I hesitate any further, somebody could be on the verge of breaking.
True.
That could be reached if I was to just do a Facebook Live,
right. right. Well,
or something like it.
Absolutely. And
but my own fears, like, oh, I don't want to get on.
Right. Well, and here's the thing.
I don't want to be vulnerable.
Right. Well, and here's what's so incredible about today's world, and that is that you don't have to start some major company or create some major thing to make a difference. You could literally go on Facebook Live for free and do what we're doing. You can write a book that's 5 pages long, call it an ebook, and put it on Amazon for free, and it's out there. I mean, and so, I think we have to sometimes, sort of lower the whole idea of how big things need to be. It needs to make this big splash. No, it doesn't. It could be something really small. It could be talking to somebody, like, for example, it could be, people on Facebook now, they leave these comments about these major life, challenges, whether it's, whether it's relationship issues or somebody died or somebody has cancer and we all hit like, and I'm guilty of it also. I hit like. I'm like, what's that?
Really awkward.
What's that really mean?
Yeah, like it's really awkward. And I think that's why they created the face emojis.
Right.
Like, those are awkward too, because it's like, I don't want to show, like, if someone says, I lost someone or something like, yeah, you want to put the sad emoji with the tear, but then it's like, what if they're not, what if they have a different understanding of that? Like, it's just really awkward.
And so my point, my point is pick up the phone and talk to them.
Yeah.
That's your life coaching right there. That's how you start. I mean, so what I'm saying is, it doesn't always have to be some grandiose thing. It can be something really, really small, bite-sized chunks. You don't have to leave your job, leave your company, and run off and do something. You could start little things right here, right now, because you can go to the radio station like this. You can write a book. You can go to you can actually talk into your phone. I just realized this through your notes on your iPhone, and it types out your words. I'm like
crazy.
I'm like, this is so.
I think technology is moving faster than us.
Yes. So take advantage of it. So we're running short on time. So here's a fourth thing. Do you know who Floyd Money Mayweather is?
Money Mayweather. Yes, I know.
Have you ever heard of Don King?
Yes, I know Don King. I'm a boxing fan.
Oh, that's good. Okay,
Yeah,
well I know
I like
you
watching boxing.
Nice. So here's the deal. The fourth thing is, which is really important, and it is be the money team and the Don King of your own business. Right? You have to get yourself out there and let people know who you are and what you do, and to be, and I love this word, unapologetic. Let me say it one more time. Unapologetic about who you are and what you do.
Okay.
But if you do those other three steps, this step becomes more manageable. So the question is, how do you do that? Right? How do you get the courage to get on Facebook Live and talk?
And just do it.
Right. Well, or what if I were to give you a framework for doing it? A 4-step process.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Everybody likes tutorials and things like that. Like, how do I take that first step?
Here's the first step, right? Well, it's 4 steps. Here's the thing. Number 1, think about all the people that you know, right? And I think we did this at Restoration Roasters the other day, but think about all the people that you know in your universe. Facebook, LinkedIn, email, in your life, people that you have some access to, whether it's email or your phone, text messaging.
Yeah.
And what number do you think that is? Like, how many people? And you guys could do this as well.
Roughly 15,000.
15,000 people. Okay?
If I added them all together, 15.
So let's say,
15,000.
right, 15,000 people, which are 15,000 potential clients, customers, life coaching, people that you help and that type of thing, right? So 15,000 people that have had some interaction with you. And let's say, well, we have to knock out some people. Let's say some people don't really know you that well, and certain people, don't like you, right?
Yeah.
So let's say we take out, secretly, right? Let's say we take out 3,000 people. Now we're at 12,000 people that have had some positive interaction with you.
Yeah.
I want you to let each of those 12,000 people know, whether it's through text, email, call, these 4 things. The first thing is what you do now.
Okay.
And the reason why the now word is so important is because people know Brittney or know JaMarr in that network of people as who we used to be.
Yeah.
They may know you from the coffee bean, or not the coffee bean, the coffee business.
I used to work at a kiosk, and they used to call me the kiosk girl and proactive girl. So they still do that.
Yes. So you're trying to be life coach girl, and they're calling you like, proactive girl.
Aren't you the proactive girl in the mall? The mall chick? No.
Exactly. And so the thing is, but everybody goes through that transition, whether they become an entrepreneur or stay in business. Working for somebody, they change jobs and change careers. So the thing is, let people know what you do now.
Yeah.
Right. This is what I do now. I am a life coach now. I write books now. I'm a speaker, author, whatever the case may be. Update people.
Okay.
The second thing is to let them know why you do what you do now. And the reason it's important to let them know why you do what you do now is because that's going to eliminate some of the pushback you get from some of the people who may question you. Because once they understand why you're doing it, what your true purpose is, what your true passion is, more people can connect with it. It also reminds you of why you're doing it, because when they are negative or when you get the but people, they come into your life,
right?
You're like, you know what? No, I'm focused on my purpose. And so you have to remind yourself of your purpose and stay connected to. Okay. So number 1, what you do now. Number 2, why you do what you do now.
Okay.
The third thing is this, how they can help you now. What would you like people to help you with?
Okay.
What would you like people to do for you if they have the ability to do so? Because sometimes people would love to help you, but they don't know how, because they don't know what you do. Like, for example, if you have an idea to be a life coach, but you're, everything about you is that you work for a company as a blogger or, social media expert. Yeah. They have no way of helping you. Yeah. But if you were to say, yes, I'm in this job, it's great, I have flexibility, and it allows me to do life coaching, and I'm looking for life coaching clients because I focus on X, Y, and Z. Yeah. Oh, Brittney, I didn't know. I know somebody that can help you. Or you know what? I'm looking for a life coach. Okay? So how they can help you now. And the fourth one, which is equally important, and it's about reciprocation, and that is let them know how you can help them now. Okay. With your increased abilities and knowledge and skills and expertise and perspective, how can you take all of you and help them? Because if we're not helping other people, if we are all about ourselves and what we can get out of it, we're missing the point, and we're not going to be as successful as we could be.
Yeah.
But when our mindset is helping other people, then doors will truly open up. It's just a law of nature. It's, people call it the secret, but it's in the Bible. But in any event,
service first.
Right, service first.
Service first.
So it's those 4 things. So once again, what you do now, why you do what you do now.
Okay.
How people can help you now, and how you can help them now. Oh my God, I can't believe we're like running short on time. Hopefully it's been, we'll talk more, but hopefully it's been a valuable session. You picked up some nuggets and learned some things. Hopefully everyone that's watching got a lot out of our discussion.
Yeah.
Any parting thoughts or words for, the people that are part of your first Facebook Live or potential.
Thank you for joining.
Yeah, potential coaching clients of yours. I mean,
Yeah, no, it's just life is a continual evolution. I think what I'm learning, just even from this session and from life experience, is that we're constantly evolving.
Right.
And to take those chances in life because we have the opportunity, we have the health or the, whatever God has given us to. We have to be good stewards of that time, the money, the energy, and be service-minded. So, these are nuggets that I'm taking away, and I'm like, okay, so going back to my life and world and everything, it's like, okay, now I'm going to implement some new strategies and make some phone calls. Because I've been wanting to connect authentically with the people that I've met over the years, and so it's a great opportunity to just call and say, hey, how are you guys doing?
Absolutely.
This is what I'm doing now. And just how can I help? How can I be is there anything that I can do to help your process at work or anything like that? And I like that.
Awesome.
I really do.
Excellent. Well, Brittney, thanks for being on the show. Thanks for going live with me. Awesome job. I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks for having me.
So if people want to hire you as a life coach, how can they get in touch with you? We got to close it.
At Britt Inspires. Yeah. So find me online. I do have a website, brittinspires.com. You can also find me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at Britt Inspires. Feel free to shoot me a message. I'd love to chat.
Awesome. Brittney, thank you so much. Everybody, thanks for watching this edition of the Break It Down Brown Show, a live coaching session. You got some insight into, what I do and how I do it with the people that I work with. And it's my passion. I absolutely love doing it. Please get in touch with me at JaMarr Brown at JaMarrBrown.com, 949-371-9077. Also, my new app for selling in color, which is a sales communication system that I wrote, is coming out very soon. So text the word selling and your name to 40691. Once again, text the word selling and your name to 40691 and be on the lookout for some additional programs. On behalf of KCWG, The Truth, the best internet radio on the planet, Pastor Frank Sarson and his wife Cassandra, our partnership has been wonderful in allowing me to do things like this and to hopefully make a difference in your life and the lives of people like Brittney, who is an up-and-comer who's going to do some phenomenal things in this world and help other people. So with that said, we're going to sign off. Everyone, thank you very much, and definitely enjoyed the time. See you everybody soon. Take care.
Intentional.